All right, we have our buddy Bill speaking today. So thrilled to have Bill Nevins talking about mystery and history. Bill Nevins is going to give us an autobiographical talk illustrated by some poetry and humor with inherent spiritual implications. He's going to share some poetry he finds interesting, his own and some others. Some short film clips. I don't know. Are film clips happening, Bill? No?
No.
Okay. Bill has been a writer in various genres for many decades. He's a reporter, poet, songwriter, and film writer. He also has been engaged with the history of our times in those decades with attention to America, Ireland, Mexico, New York City, New England, New Mexico, and other places he's visited and studied. If there are answers to anything in the mystery of life, including joys and losses, he is not certain he has found them, but he's open to the discovery of them. And his beautiful partner, Jeannie's gonna start with a song.
Thank you, Jeannie. Hey, I'm Bill Nevins. This is Jeannie Allen. I really like being here at Taos Community of Love, which I've found in the last 6 months to be a most welcoming, warm, and informal gathering of good people for sharing of music, friendship, food, prayer, and even poetry. I'm happy today to share some of my own poems and a few favorites by other authors, along with food and the chat a bit later. These poems, in a way, trace my life history and perhaps a bit of a spiritual journey, if you see that in them. But I'll leave that up to you. We'll read for about 30 minutes, and we'll save time at the end of the reading for some questions, okay? Good. Here's a poem that I have long loved. It is about the great mystery. It was written by the priest, Gerard Manley Hopkins, in 1877, but it wasn't published until long after his death. God's grandeur. The world is charged with the grandeur of God. It will flame out like shining from shook foil. It gathers to a greatness like the ooze of oil crushed. Why do men then not wreck his rod? Generations have trod, and all is seared with trade, bleared, smeared with toil, and wears man's smudge and shares man's smell. The soil is bare now, nor can foot feel being shod.
And for all this, is the mic on?
Yes.
For all this, nature is never spent. There lives the dearest freshness deep down in things. And though the last lights off the black west went, oh, morning at the brown brink eastward springs, because the Holy Ghost over the bent world broods with warm breast and bright wings.
Origins. Now we all come from somewhere, don't we? Could be New Mexico, could be somewhere else. But of course, no matter where you are, there you are, like they say in New Orleans. I myself was born in Stamford, Connecticut, near New York City in 1947. My family identifies as Irish American, although we do have some Germans among our ancestors. My family line includes police, firefighters, military men, legal secretaries, homemakers, farmers, engineers, an insurance executive, a restaurant owner, a geologist, musicians, teachers, and in my generation, even a professional journalist and teacher who sometimes writes poetry. There aren't any clergy in our family, as far as I know, but most of our family, up to my generation, were practicing traditional Roman Catholics. That changed a bit in my time, but you may get a sense of that from my poems here. Here's one about my great-grandmother, whom we called Nana, Anna Kiley, Nana. Now, Anna Kiley came out to America from a family of 9 on a small farm in the County Tipperary, where they weren't impoverished so much as feeling a wee bit crowded. Somewhere near the end of the 1800s, she sailed the Atlantic to New York and then lived a full century in Connecticut, where she married well, but was widowed early. She became a detective commander's mother-in-law, living in a double-decker house with her daughter, and who also was widowed too early. She was respected by all the decent Stamford citizenry and loved by all adherents of our one true Catholic and Apostolic Church in the good parish of St. Mary's. She often sang her great-grandson the song Molly Malone, that lady who wheeled her wheelbarrow through Dublin's streets, broad and narrow, crying, "Cockles and mussels, alive, alive all." Sadly, Anna died, and no one could save her. And that was the end of sweet Molly Malone. Yet, though I don't believe in ghosts, she lives with me still, down all these years, through foolish anger, mad laughter, loves, and lonely tears. For I always knew I could find safety with nothing to fear at her kitchen table with tea, toast, and guardian angels hovering near, as we all sing-song down the night in that quiet Irish country way. Some poems can be mysterious, even to their authors. Here's a short poem that I wrote a few years ago that seems to have interested other people. Movie was made based on it, and a dear Mexican friend, Fe de la Cruz, translated it into Spanish.
Silence of the messengers. We hear only hush of wings, these angels who sweep around us, with never a word spoken and never a sword drawn, though their voices be strong, their hearts be brave, for they know that we would not remember if they spoke. We would not hear one soft word, nor recall one fiery blow, nor can their ethereal spirits hear our frail human prayers, and so we greet them only with heartbeats, as is the way of our kind, as is the way of this, our unknowing mind. Por eso solamente los percibimos con corazonadas, es la única manera de nuestras mentes desconocedoras.
Here's another poem that I've long admired, though I can't say I fully understand it. It's about both history and mystery and perhaps some kind of strange mystical revelation. It was written in 1919, just after World War I, by the great Irish poet William Butler Yeats.
The Second Coming. Turning and turning in the widening gyre, the falcon cannot hear the falconer. Things fall apart, the center cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. The blood-dimmed tide is loosed, and everywhere the ceremony of innocence is drowned. The best lack all conviction, while the worst are full of passionate intensity.
But surely some revelation is at hand. Surely the second coming is at hand. The second coming. hardly are those words out when a vast image out of Spiritus Mundi troubles my sight. Somewhere in sands of the desert, a shape with lion body and the head of a man, a gaze blank and pitiless as the sun, is moving its slow thighs, while all about it reel shadows of the indignant desert birds. Then the darkness drops again. But now I know that 20 centuries of stony sleep were vexed to nightmare by a rocking cradle, and what rough beast, its hour come round at last, slouches towards Bethlehem to be born. Well, you know, I went to college at Iona University in New Rochelle, New York, a short train ride from Manhattan. And then I lived in New York City for a few years, eventually working as an editor. Here's a sort of slam style poem I wrote looking back at my earlier, younger years, spiritually questing in New York City. Some of this might be called fictional created nonfiction, believe it or not. I think this poem touches on both some history and some mystery. Transubstantiation, after Richard Farina. I shook, sniffling, standing outside St. Mary's dark confessional box, staring at the Stations of our Lord being whipped by Roman thugs, when that stiff priest, Fenton, flunked me at my first confession for confusing mortal and venial varieties of sin, and he refused to give me penance. At 7 years of age, I suppose I should have studied my catechism better, prayed harder, and later kissed Cardinal Spellman's holy ring when he blessed Nixon's bombs dropping on Vietnam. But alas, my unrepentant, irremediably heretical ignorance doomed me to be excommunicated, tossed from Holy Mother Church's blue-draped embrace, apostate, absolutionless, and trembling in fear of the fiery stake that burned St. John. My own dad told me, we need to respect the Roman collar, if not the man. And those wimpled old parochial nuns, sweet dears, just wept for my lost soul. So I spent my teens tossing in sweat-soaked sheets of Catholic agony, dreaming of heaven never to be found and lusting after beehived, untouchable Italian girls.
In my waking punishment dreams, I was condemned to ride the New Haven railway line with Protestants, pagans, perverts, and smug Bill Buckley Jr., all those rough beasts slouching toward Times Square to be reborn, to seek redemption, remission, transubstantiation, and perhaps, even after all the pious lies, to find some soft, forgiving eyes. Though I feared mean cops, blacks, Jews, gays, women, needles, and Bellevue Hospital, even more than I feared Jesus' righteous wrath, I did at last try to hide my sinful self in the dirty subways, blood-drenched Blarney Stones, creepy movie palaces, and dank back alleys of mercilessly unsleeping New York City. Later, in my lost, lazy, very hirsute rebel adolescence, I dared to ask for a job at Ed Sanders' Peace Eye bookstore. But that scholarly NYU ancient Greek-quoting beat poet Fug had too much porn to read throughout that day, and he tossed me back out on the street, snarling, "Hippies rob you blind." And Tim Leary turned out to be a leering old drunk when I encountered him by chance in a sleazy Lower East Side dive. I was truly sick and dirty, more dead than alive by then.
But one holy night, I found sanctuary with an irreverent redneck Wiccan Rapunzel who held my hand all one frosty stone night off Avenue C while Bob Dylan crooned his corny Peggy Day shtick on the radio, leaving us believers not knowing which prophet to doubt or follow anymore. while the weather underground commies blew themselves to righteous red shreds, chanting, "Ho, ho, ho, Chi Minh," as bored policemen grumbled, angels, Harleys rumbled, and the mafia's mean street speed broke gentle hearts once again. That uncertainly humid 67 summer of Lower East Side love, not love. While skyscrapers trembled, Hare Krishnas dissembled, and the fabulous furry freak brothers duck walked down Avenue D, feeling down so long it seemed like up to them. And we crashed hard, listening to Blonde on Blonde as the E-train glowed, as grinning muggers flashed blades or guns, and cheap beer and whiskey slowed our racing minds, as hot pizza slices left the skin hanging in loose from the roofs of our mouths, and opium kept us groggy, sane, while waiting for the final plan. And every dawn seemed some new jingle-jangle morning. We angel-headed hipster, orphan, pirates tried in vain to rhyme it all out, reading The Wasteland, Whitman, Richard Brautigan, and dead Sylvia Plath. But silent America had forgotten its grungy children, it seemed, until one soggy afternoon in a St. Mark's Church, Eileen Miles poetry night, I swear that I heard Allen Ginsberg sneeze, achoo, in the middle of his holy Padme chants. Just loud enough to let all of us weary pilgrims know that indeed kind Shiva would soon end this bleak and sorry world so that a further, better consciousness might grow. Always so, always so, always so, in the soft, lush drone of his smiling Hindu, Buddhist, Jewish, queer, all-embracing sacred mantra, Namaste. Well, I've been blessed. It's as close as I get to a slam poem. Okay, I have been blessed to meet and be inspired by many poets, song singers, activists, teachers, and healers over the years. Ram Dass, Stephen Spender, Steve Earle, Joy Harjo, Jack Hirschman, and Jenny Bird, among them. Likewise, travel is a great privilege, and I am grateful to have had the chance to travel as tourist and as reporter. I've been honored to join in Native American ceremonies, to visit the Maya temples of Yucatan, and to visit Ireland many times as a reporter and peace activist. And I have friends there, north and south of the border. Here is a poem I wrote about visiting the wild west coast of Ireland and thinking about the northern troubles, and a friend, Bernadette Devlin McAlliskey, and her daughter Rasheen, and her granddaughter Linier there. It is the title poem of my newest book. I think it suggests hope and light and endure despite hard times and darkness. Light bending, Lanier. It's a long, long way from here to County Clare, where white horses race ashore in salt and cold spray, and in the Doolin pub, thick-bearded Arran fishermen draw long sips of black stout and gossip in the ancient tongue, and wonder who that quiet Yank might be in time of sad civil war up north. But I just sat on that rocky southern shore, waiting for the moon to rise, waiting for the process of peace to come dropping slow, thinking vaguely of captive Rasheen far off in a London jail, pregnant and alone. And I recalled how I visited her famous mom, Bernadette, one day up in County Tyrone, a Yankee journalist on Irish walkabout, accepting a kind cup of tea. She'd been asked if she was bitter, as was rumored, these many years on, since she was shot by a death squad with her wee children in the same room. Though she and her husband had survived the killer's bullets, but she paused to think, and then she replied,
You know, the one thing I cannot forgive is that these three wee ones didn't get to grow up in farm country as we'd planned with all the war and all this war. For instead, we had to raise them here on this stark, hard paved city ground, just to be protected, just so we could breathe and sleep at night, just to stay alive.
She sighed, dreaming perhaps of flowered fields, green hills with cattle, horses, sheep, and dogs.
Well, she laughed, I had longer black hair then, and they called me Che Guevara in a miniskirt. And I suppose I was rather bad in their eyes then, but I'm as bad now as I was in those days, or maybe even worse.
And then the day came, at last, when our wee rebel firebrand Bernie, who'd seen the paratroops do murder that awful Sunday in 1972, and who served her time in jail and in the English Parliament, was now a great granny who took her newborn grandchild home to Ireland out of foreign captivity and told all of us inquiring press reporters about the child's newly christened name.
Lanier. It's a ray of sunshine, Bernie said. Not the bright summer glare that you might imagine, but Lanier means the pure, rare sunlight as it filters down through even the darkest of clouds.
You know, we've all experienced troubles, haven't we? Loss and grief in our lives. Our emotional responses tend to develop and change as time passes. When my own son, Liam, died in combat in Afghanistan in 2013, I wrote many poems, long and shorter ones, sad and angry ones. Here's a more recent, calmer poem I wrote, reflecting on the feelings generated by that experience.
With a preface by W.B. Yeats. Come away, O human child, to the waters and the wild, with a fairy, hand in hand, for the world's more full of weeping than you can understand.
It's how we measure what we imagine is passing. These winds in September. Leaves fall, winds turn chill. When he fell, we all went a bit mad. Words like shrapnel, words like ice shattered and sliced. When he died, perhaps we scarcely cried. At least we might have cried more. Ah, those words spit in anger, rage, and despair still sting. This far in, though, it's been 12 years. Will we grimace and growl forever? He'd have laughed it all off. A crazy Irish wake. Why shouldn't we just laugh too, for his and our own sake? None of us live longer than our time. Some of us live better than our times. I'll always keep his smile with mine. He was better, and he was wild. He was our brother, our hero, our child. Hope you all ride the same wild winds that he rides. Hope you're smiling too when you reach his side. Well, it may be just a wee bit risky to write poems about tricky relationships with females one has met. But in this case, I just had to share the experience. Maya is the name of a goddess of the earth in the ancient mythologies. Gratitude, Maya, and me. She never asked my name, though I may have guessed hers. And yes, you betcha, I stood in awe of nature when that angry mama elk, 6 foot tall and counting, silently charged me one early New Mexico mountain May morning as I'd been distractedly strolling, contemplating abstract poetry, fallen leaves, and vague signs of bear in the forest edge of Elk Poop Acres. No doubt too near her hidden newborn calf.
She had precious little to say about W.B. Yeats, Ocean Vuong, Emily Dickinson, Emerson, or Wordsworth, but I got the message most clear about my own mortality and fragility and her fierce desire that I just get the heck out of there fast. And I got the picture of the size of her stamping hooves not 5 feet away. The wise dog had run home.
Ah, yes. I was grateful for a tree that day, nature's gift, me hugging behind it, as I am grateful not yet to be dead. Standing stuck between me and that proud lady elk, and more thankful I was still when my own brave woman, Jeannie, much bolder and wiser than I, gracefully turned that cow elk away with a hurled stick and a shout so that grand creature left me and sauntered away into the woods, her white rump and regal disdain blessedly bidding me to have a nice long life. I grudgingly wished her the same. Well, I've written a few poems about poets and poetry. Here's one, purely fictional, I promise you. Take it as you will, but please keep your sense of humor intact.
The Prophet Muhammad, blessings and peace be upon him, shared these words in the Quran. As for poets, only the misguided follow them.
No prisoners. What can I say? We met in Santa Fe, where she's got everything she needs. She's an artist, and she knew Leonard Cohen. I tried to read her Blythe Shelley, hoping for love, but she snarled.
Poets are worse than lawyers, worse than mosquitoes. Like those big flying cucarachas down south they get in your hair. Poets tell you stories about anarchist painters who won't take cash from the cruel corporate state. So they live in boxes made of cardboard under bridges, without brushes, without canvas stretchers, without grants, without patrons, without brushes. Poets, she said, are like syrup on a pancake. They soak in until they wipe out all the taste of the pancake itself and fill it in with words, sweet, sticky words. Poets make everyone else taste what they taste, she sighed. I hate fucking poets, she cried. First thing we'll do after the revolution, she hissed, we'll kill all the poets.
Oh my God. That's my only hit, you know. Okay. Sometimes I revisit poems and I even rewrite them. Here is a newer version of a poem that we read earlier this afternoon. Here we go. This is called Within the Silence of the Messengers. Beyond the roar or quiet, behind the dim unknown, on the scaffold, in the battle, in the tomb or birthing room, we hear only this hush of wings. barely stirring the wind, these angels who sweep around us, never spoken, never a sword drawn, for though their voices be strong, though their hearts be brave, they know that we would not remember if they spoke, nor recall one fiery blow. So they greet us in chaste silence as we greet them only with ephemeral heartbeats, as is the way of our kind, as is the way of this, our unknowing mind. Here's another short poem that I really love, written in 1866 by Emily Dickinson.
Not in vain. If I can stop one heart from breaking, I shall not live in vain. If I can ease one life, the aching, or cool one pain, or help one fainting robin unto his nest again, I shall not live in vain.
Thank you, Jean. To finish up here, here's the final poem in my latest book. And if you'd like a copy of my book, hit me up, it's right here. I hope you have enjoyed this time with us, because I know I have. After I read this poem, we would welcome questions, comments. Enough. For Jeannie, of course. Stroll these woods, hear thrushes sing, woodpeckers hammer trunks, hummingbirds buzz, see hungry hawks glide, vultures soar, bats swoop, where bears shove stones aside, elk tramp out trails and poop. Mule deer graze right to our calm porch, unafraid. Coyotes lurk, bobcats lurch, cougars that we never see prowl. When you and I, also unafraid, meet eyes, hold hands, hug in the morning, sunrise, light, feed the pups, where we laugh, hug, smile, even weep, one hopes with our loving energy being enough to keep the sun rising, the flowers waving, the colors shifting, clouds over the ridge, and then the stars firing up, so we and all these critters may sleep safe, not afraid of anything at all, not anything at all. She stepped out, and I stepped in again, learning to dance at Lanigan's Bar. Thank you. Thanks, Chief. All right, questions or comments? We're very open to that.
I have a comment.
Sure.
The earthy, raw life material that you write from, you know, this is the stuff that makes us who we are.
Thank you. Wow.
Thanks, that was wonderful.
Thank you so much.
It's not easy to hear sometimes.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
really isn't.
Yeah,
But the light
yeah.
comes through in the darkest of time.
Amazing, yeah.
Now, I'd like to share a comment that really struck delight in the heart of one of our favorite poets, Art Goodtimes, who stayed with us the other day, because I had a friend who had a son who was 4 years old or 5, and they had a Labrador puppy. The puppy, they were trying to train the puppy. The puppy was, 8, 10 weeks old and just wasn't getting it. And so my friend Sandy said to her son, well, We all do our puppy best. That's really a useful thing for me. We all do our puppy best.
And we hope we get trained.
At least we can be cute while we're doing it, right?
Yes, hi.
I
Ron,
am there, I'm Ron Bennett, this is Marcia,
yeah,
and they're our neighbors, but I have to tell you, they are the most wonderful people.
oh,
And I want to say the mechanics of how you went back and forth, it was well done, it meant something more to me than, Bill, maybe just you just speaking alone, but to mix it up like that was just wonderful.
oh, thanks, Ron.
It
We're
was.
very different people, but we share, I think we came from similar, we're about the same age, we came from similar experiences in the 70s. I was in California, he was in New England.
New York.
New York, but,
I know you.
but it feels like a very dynamic experience. And so I am enjoying pairing up with this guy and sharing music and poetry.
Well, the last poem sealed the deal.
Okay, yeah,
Okay, thanks.
pinky swear.
Thank you, guys.